It's Friday. You made it. We made it to the end of another work week, albeit a bit of a shorter week again for some after we dealt with Mother Nature again for a third consecutive Monday. But, boy, I don't know about you, but it seems like this week was a really long week, wasn't it? Lots of stuff going on out there, and I know that many of you are busy. And it's cold this morning. Holy smokes. Minus 15 when I left the house this morning, and it just felt like one of those really cold days. And we've had a lot of them this winter, right? Maybe it's to the fact that or at least I was getting used to the winters that we've had over the last few years where we've had temperatures above zero. We never had a lot of snow cover. A lot of the lakes and ponds around HRM never really saw any ice cover. That is definitely not the case this year. This moving towards what people will tell me is a more traditional winter in HRM. Maybe something that we experienced for several generations before all this change in the climate and these warmer winters and lack of snow cover. The interesting part about this, and it came up at the budget discussions this week as City Council continues to meet with their budget committee and their business units in an effort to try and carve out some money out of the budget so that our tax bills don't go up by or our tax rate doesn't go up by 10.9%. And potholes came up before council again. Now, we often hear that HRM is susceptible to potholes because of the freeze and thaw cycle that we have here, right? What I explained earlier. We have a couple of days of -5, -6, -8, -10, and then we have a warm-up, and temperatures go above zero, and the ground starts to thaw, and the science behind that expanding and contracting, and that creates issues with the asphalt surface that we drive on every day. I think many of us can get our heads wrapped around that. But this winter has been particularly cold, and I'm trying not to put words into the mouths of the people that look after our streets before the budget committee, but it appears as if they are losing the battle, at least early on, to potholes this year. We're seeing an extensive number of them right across the road network here in HRM. I know many of you have experienced them. I certainly have. Interesting discussion at the budget committee yesterday about potholes and the response to potholes. And they break them down, as I understand it, into two different categories. It's a priority 1 and a priority 2. Priority 1, of course, are the big ones, right? I think the number is 25 centimeters wide by, I think it was 8 centimeters deep, which is a significant pothole. And those priority levels go up depending on where they're located, right? If it's on a major thoroughfare or on a bus route. And the city staff telling HRM Council yesterday that the service standard to get those repaired after they've been reported is 7 days. Priority 2, much longer, right? Some of you will say and will suggest that some of those priority 2 potholes never get filled. But I got to tell you, folks, we talked about it here on the program last week. It's been well over 7 days. And I described a monster of a pothole that has developed at the intersection of Bayview and Lacewood in Clayton Park. In fact, some of you called up and said, yeah, been through that pothole and have seen it. Well, that one has been there much longer than 7 days, and I don't know if Lacewood is certainly the definition of a busy thoroughfare and a bus route and a main connector. And that pothole, as the days grow on and the temperature yesterday and the day before and the day before that, I believe, getting above zero, so we get that expansion and that contraction, that hole getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And on my drive home yesterday, that pothole swallowed up a cab. It literally was like a minivan cab, and it was right in the center of that hole and wasn't going anywhere. Something broke. I couldn't see what it was. And that snarled traffic up all the way down Bayview right to the Bedford Highway. 7-day service standard. Will be an interesting discussion point you may want to raise about potholes. And the city staff yesterday, in their presentation, suggesting that they are looking at different ways to combat potholes. And some of the suggestions, obviously not for this budget year, but maybe for the next budget year, would be to purchase technology to find these potholes and put sensors on city buses so that when they go over a pothole, it registers the pothole and that goes to some sort of central area and somebody's dispatched to take a look at it. Another option was, I think it was a $500,000 vehicle that has some kind of liquid, I don't know if it's an epoxy or something along those lines that injects it into the pothole as a temporary measure. And because we know the cold patch that they use in the wintertime is less than effective in the climate that we have. So those are rather large budget items. I often ask the question, do we always switch gears and rely on technology to tell us what we already know? City staff are out. Bus drivers are out. You're out driving around on the streets every day. And I know many of you have picked up your phones and dialed 311 to report them. I know that city staff, I see the HRM pickup trucks all the time, and the cars and the electric vehicles on the streets. So do we need to have sensors, expensive sensors, put onto buses for potholes? Might be something that you want to discuss as we open up the telephone lines today at 11 o'clock for the Friday Free-for-All. Elsewhere in the budget realm, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. The Parking Authority before Council for their budget presentation this week. And City Council kicking around some ideas at generating additional revenue through parking. 25% increase in the actual fee that you pay to park. And the one that I think is of most concern, at least based on the emails I received on it yesterday, is that council is seriously considering removing free parking on Saturdays on city streets. Sundays is going to remain. Council didn't have an appetite for Sundays, but they did have an appetite for Saturdays. I'm interested in what you have to say about free parking on Saturdays and your transportation and your traveling habits and your shopping habits. I know many put off going to, and I'll use downtown Halifax as an example, put off going downtown until Saturday because A, the traffic is less than it is during the week, and B, because they can park on the street for free and go about their business. If council raises the rates and gets rid of free Saturday parking, particularly in downtown Halifax and downtown Dartmouth, is that going to change your shopping habits? Or are you going to say, nope, going to go to the place where the big lot is and I can park for free when I go shopping? Also something that you might want to join the discussion on here when we open up the phone lines for the Friday Free-for-All. Canada to be on display tonight with the rest of the world, or I guess it's this afternoon with the rest of the world, as the Olympic Games in Milan and Cortina officially get underway. Now we know there have been events that have been running most of the week as we watch curling, and I watched Big Air last night. And that was, wow. Nope. Just that's all I can say. My knees say nope. My lower back says nope. But anyway, wow, what a spectacle to watch. Anyway, it was the preliminaries, so Canada performing reasonably well at that. We'll be watching for that as we get into the medal rounds. And we've been watching mixed curling, right? Mixed doubles curling, and I saw this morning that Brett Gallant and Jocelyn Peterman lost for the first time. They lost to the Americans. I think it was 7-5 early this morning. Hope I didn't ruin or spoilers for you if you were going to watch that when you went home. But the event itself officially getting underway tonight or this afternoon. I think it's think it's either 3 or 4 o'clock here in Atlantic time. The actual live event, it'll get rebroadcast in prime time as well. As the organizers and as Italy puts on its display for the opening ceremonies. Do you watch them? I don't. Mostly because I don't get the artistry and the imagery. I like watching the athletes parade in and the different uniforms that the athletes wear. I think that's pretty cool. But the rest of it is a little maybe too highbrow for me, and that's not to say that it's not important, but it's just not my cup of tea. But the official opening ceremony gets underway at this afternoon in Italy, and then we'll start to see lots of events getting underway. Women's hockey yesterday postponed because the team from Finland has come down with norovirus. What a terrible time for that. Can you imagine if norovirus got into the athletes' village? Anyway, they've been quarantined, and there have been other women's hockey events that have taken place and are taking place today. So it doesn't look like, at least at this point, that virus is spreading around anybody else. So hopefully the Team Finland is able to recover from that and get back to business. Team Canada practiced yesterday. The women's team in their regular slot that they would have played the game. I know there's some controversy about whether or not the rules actually allow for postponements. Normally it's a forfeiture, right? But anyway, Team Canada practiced yesterday. They talked to the general manager of Team Canada, said the team is resilient. They just whatever, let's move on, right? And we'll take to the ice against Switzerland. I do believe that game's on Saturday. So the Olympics are underway, and might be something you also want to talk about. Are you going to watch them? The time zone actually kind of works. Some of the events are very early in the morning, but the host broadcaster gives you the ability to watch them later on in the day. And some of the events, like hockey, will be in the afternoon, which is much better than the last set of Olympic Games when we were watching gold medal games at 3 o'clock in the morning. So are you going to watch the Olympics? Lots to talk about today. We're going to take our first break here on the program. Some sad news out of Halifax earlier this week. The annual St. Patrick's Day Parade has been canceled for a second year in a row, this time because of low numbers. The executive director of the Spring Garden Area Business Association, Sue Uteck, will be joining us to talk about that. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. It's Friday. We're back after the break. Welcome back as we roll along here on fabulous Friday edition of the program. And I know it has an event that many of you have participated in and look forward to every year. But for a second year in a row now, the annual St. Patrick's Day Parade here in Halifax has been canceled. And we're very pleased to welcome to the program today to tell us a little bit more about that is Sue Uteck. Sue, how are you?
I'm great, Dan. Parades and parking, my favorite topic.
It's the two P's.
Yeah, that's right.
Sue, I guess obviously some disappointment from the organizing committee here this year to have to make this decision.
Yeah, it is, Dan. You know, we're a small group of volunteers that have been together for, I think, approximately 14 years. And so, you know, last year's decision was squarely on, we still hadn't received the permit from the city. And people want to know whether they're marching up a hill or down a hill, et cetera, this year. And I don't know whether it was because of last year's cancellation, but the numbers just weren't there to make it work for us.
So the number of people that were willing to participate, correct?
Yeah, you know, so behind the scenes, there's a lot of work that goes in. You've got to apply for permits. You're applying for grants. You know, we've received some funding from the city. The Embassy from Ireland is a big contributor, the Charitable Irish Society. So, you know, those groups are there. But if we're going to lay out these expenditures for trinkets, billboards, advertising, et cetera, we need to know that we're going to have a parade that's, you know, more than 10 minutes.
Sue, is this the end of it? Is this the end of the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Halifax?
No, I don't believe so. And, you know, this is my call out for, you know, as part of this committee, like any committee in the turnover, you need fresh blood on the committee. And it's, you know, we're doing our best to to keep this organized and keep the parade alive. But it would be great to have some help from the public and people joining in the parade or want to help us out on the committee. Fresh blood, new ideas.
If somebody wants to take part or Sue or lend a hand, is how do they do that? They just reach out to you?
You know what? They can just reach out to me directly, Sue at springgardenarea.com.
Fair enough. Well, it's disappointing, but hopefully we haven't seen the end of it.
No, I think there's too much spirit here here in Halifax that we're not going to let this die without a fight.
St. Patrick's Day is certainly a well-celebrated day here in HRM, is it not?
Oh, yeah. And, one of the things we often get asked, Dan, is why don't you have the parade on St. Patrick's Day? Well, we can't because if St. Patrick's falls on a midweek,
right,
we effectively grind down a city that's already been ground down through traffic.
Right. Sue, switching hats a little bit here, taking off the Shamrock maybe and putting on the on the Spring Garden Road hat. City Council and the Budget Committee this week talking about parking rates and getting rid of Saturday free parking. Your thoughts on that?
Well, again, that's my third P because it leaves me peed off. We weren't consulted at all as business improvement districts, and this affects downtown Halifax, Spring Garden, and Dartmouth only. So it's not anywhere else in the city. And, we had not anticipated this because Councillor White had put forth a motion several months ago about, it's called a district benefit parking study.
Yeah.
So, we know that parking's always going to go up. It's an easy cash grab. It's, it's for councillors. It's your first, we're going to raise fees. That's where we start. So parking, they just feel is an easy one. But, for us, especially parking on Saturdays, small business down here in the downtowns of Dartmouth and Halifax, we already fight the perception that there is no parking. It's awkward to get around. I just don't want to go there. So this is just another nail for small business to deal with. The assessments are up by 5.7 commercial. We all had the water increase of 18%. Power's going up. So this is just one more thing that says, why am I going to go here when I can park at Bears Lake for free?
Right, Sue, and I said that off the top of the program. People I speak with that do their shopping and business downtown on Saturdays do it because of the free parking, and
right.
It's yet another incentive to not go there and stay on the periphery.
Yeah, exactly. And, Mayor Fillmore proposed the first hour was free, and that's nice. But if we're going to have an increase, so all the parking, over $2 million collected here in the downtown and I'm running with a cold, fines and fees, and yet the district bids receive zero of that money. So even if we received a percentage to help with beautification, art projects, to host another event, that may be something that, if the public could see the benefit of where those dollars are going, but right now it's just general revenue. So, we want the district benefit parking study, and then we'll start the negotiations from there.
It seems that council this happens quite frequently, that we're making decisions before the studies are done.
Right. And this is, again, what I'm seeing, the continuing trend of this budget. Let's take all the low-hanging fruit that annoys the public. Parking, let's remove your one heavy item, for solid waste. Let's up the recreation fees. Let's up the commuter parking pass, while not dealing with these $100 million projects we need to make decisions on. So it's the low-hanging fruit that starts the aggravation.
Sue, how important is Saturday to the members on Spring Garden Road?
Oh, it's huge. Saturday is a big event day in the city, whether it's a Wanderers game, something going on at Scotiabank, the Ice Festival over in Dartmouth. That's an incentive to come downtown. And while I'm here for perhaps the event, I'm going to dine at a restaurant, drop into a store. Saturdays are hugely important for us.
Sue, I appreciate your time. All the best.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much.
That is Sue Uteck, who is one of the volunteer organizing committee members for the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which for a second consecutive year and had been scheduled for the 15th of March this year has been canceled because of low indication of interest. They didn't think it was worth the expense to move forward because of the lack of participation in this year's event. And I think I will echo what Sue said, because they had to cancel the event last year because of permitting issues with the city and so on and so forth, that may have contributed to the low participation, at least the low indication of interest in this year's St. Patrick's Day Parade. Having participated in and watched the St. Patrick's Day Parade in the past, it was always a lot of fun and really kind of kicked off or wrapped up, depending on where it fell, the St. Patrick's Day celebration. We know that day is very much celebrated here in our community. It is a big event. The restaurants and bars in downtown Halifax and right across HRM will tell you it's probably one, if not the most important days on their calendar. It's busy. Some of them open up at 7 o'clock in the morning. So it's not like there's no interest in St. Patrick or in St. Patrick's Day in HRM. I think it's just maybe putting up some dollars on the barrelhead, so to speak, when it comes to organizing this parade. Hopefully we haven't seen the end of it. I know the Irish community is very strong, very proud here in HRM, and I know that they're going to be disappointed to hear that their parade isn't happening. And the parking issue, I hope that you participate in the discussion on this. You're the ones who fill the meters. We don't do that anymore, do we? Remember when you used to have to actually put money in a meter? That is not happening anymore, I will say. Struggled with the app when I was downtown earlier this week. But parking is certainly an issue. And I wonder, and going to ask that question as part of the Friday Free-for-All today, if free Saturday parking or the lack thereof, should council move forward with this, is it going to change your habits? Are you going to maybe not visit the downtown course, be it here in Halifax or on Springard Road or over in Dartmouth, because of the lack of free parking on Saturday? That's something we'll ask you when we open up the telephone lines as part of our Friday show. Time for us to take a break. Tim is unavailable this week. He's participating in a youth hockey tournament. By that, he's a dad in the stands drinking coffee and eating arena hot dogs. Is there anything better than an arena hot dog? Like, really, honestly, for whatever reason, it's the same hot dog you get at home, but when they wrap it in that foil stuff, I don't know, it's like magic. Anyway, Tim's unavailable, so we're going to tee up, speaking of arena hot dogs, the Halifax Mooseheads taking back to the ice, facing off against Cape Breton this weekend. Garreth MacDonald, our play-by-play announcer, will join us to tee up the weekend. You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand, back after the news. Welcome back to the fabulous Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. So glad you're able to spend some time with us as we roll along. And did you know, I just found out that there's a Friday to the 13th this month and next month. So we've got back-to-back Friday to the 13th. Not sure if that's the reason why we've seen so much turmoil and volatility on the stock markets. And if you have any cryptocurrency, you're watching your wallet pretty close these days with Bitcoin and such having a terrible time, at least as of late. I blame it on Friday the 13th, but we'll see what happens when we roll forward to that. We're going to have to do something special for the Friday the 13th episode, which, of course, is next Friday. It's home and home this weekend as the Halifax Mooseheads look to maybe start to try and build some momentum as we head into February and into the grind session or the grind part of the season as we look forward to getting into postseason hockey here. But the Battle of Nova Scotia is always a lot of fun, and that will be reignited tonight as the Mooseheads travel to Center 200 and get ready to take on the Eagles in Cape Breton. And getting ready for his broadcast tonight is our good friend and friend of the show and the best in the queue. That is Garreth MacDonald. Garreth, how are you?
Wonderful, Dan. How are you doing?
I am terrific. This is always a lot of fun, regardless of where everybody is in the standings, right? The Battle of Nova Scotia is always one of those circled on the calendar events.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is always a lot of fun. It's you get the old provincial rivalry going, and like you said, doesn't really seem to matter who is in the lineup, who's wearing the sweaters. I think it is still a game that everybody gets up for, especially the guys who are from Nova Scotia.
Right. It's one of those events that I know that they look forward to. Tell me a little bit about Cape Breton and Halifax. We know Halifax has been struggling a bit as of late, but these rallies start at 1, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. It was a tough road trip there last weekend for the team. You look at the schedule. It is really jam-packed right now. They're pretty much playing every other night at this point in the season. It feels a lot of games to be played before the season wraps up in late March. But yeah, I mean they're coming off a road trip through Quebec where they had 3 games in. You look at the start times. It's 3 games in a 48-hour span. A matchup on Friday night in Shawinigan. That was a game where you're taking on a Shawinigan team that's one of the top teams in the Western Conference, one of the top teams in the league, and I thought the Mooseheads played them real well. It was pretty tight back and forth battle, pretty defensive affair. Again, 1-goal game late, and Cole Chandler, Bedford boy, he burns his hometown team in that one. He had a goal out at a late empty netter as well, and Shawinigan skates away with a couple of points. The Mooseheads come up empty-handed. They got to turn around the next night. They're off to Victoriaville to take on the Tigre. It's a team that they beat earlier on in the season, but Victo's got some real talented young players, 2 young Russians in particular, and Igor Shilov and Alexei Vlasov, a couple of top prospects for the upcoming NHL entry draft. And you're playing with fire in a tight game. I think that was a game in which both teams probably got a bit away from their structure. I thought there were some good opportunities at both ends, and again the Moose probably got a little too loosey-goosey, but at the same time they generated a lot. Had some grade A opportunities, and Gabriel Daig, who was pretty highly touted when he came to the league, 2nd overall pick back in 2022 as a goaltender, and kind of found himself his first couple of years playing behind a veteran in Nathan Darvaux. He's starting to find his groove really for the first time in his Q career right now. The last couple of months he's been remarkable. He's a Pittsburgh Penguins prospect, and kind of felt like he did steal that one on Saturday night. And again, just keeping with the theme of busy schedule, after that it's off to Sherbrooke, and I did think the Moose had a pretty gutsy win in that game. It's a lot of hockey in a short period of time. They do cash in 2 points. They sweep the season series against the Phoenix, and again, nice to win that last road trip. Nice to finish it up on a winning note, and out of that, it's back home for a game against a Newfoundland Regiment team that's kind of had the Mooseheads number here lately, and good start for the Moose, but they definitely let Newfoundland back into that game. They got into a little bit of special teams trouble. They gave up some bad goals at some critical times, and that led to a momentum shift in the game. I thought Halifax had a real strong start, but they did let Newfoundland back into it, and again they come up empty-handed, but hey, we're looking forward to hopefully a better performance, a more consistent performance tonight against a Cape Breton team that, they sold off during the trade period probably the top guy that was available in Thomas Lavoie, Utah Mammoth prospect in the back end, one of the top defensemen in the league. But even despite moving on from him, they're still piling up some wins here. They play tight defensively. This won't be an easy matchup for sure.
Right, and of course you add all of the inter-provincial rivalry. The Moose, as you mentioned, have struggled as of late. I don't think I'm out of bounds saying that, but a couple of guys are having pretty good seasons, and I'm looking down the list at Kulibiakin and Sean Carrier, who are at 50 points and 44 respectively. Yeah,
no, they have been real good here for the Moose. Sean Carey, I would say probably a tough game there against Newfoundland the other night. I think all of you look at the top guys, they did kind of struggle. The Mooseheads power play struggled the other night, but that really has been, when you look at Carrier in particular, that's a bit of a rarity. He has been so consistent for the team. He's in his second season with the Mooseheads. It's his third season in the league, and he came in as a 6th overall pick of the Moncton Wildcats back in 2023, and obviously pretty highly thought of. Didn't really have the rookie season that he would have wanted with Moncton, and ends up getting dealt for Marcus Vinicek, popular longtime Moosehead who wrapped up his Q career last year as an overager with Moncton, wore the C for them in the second half, helped to lead them to a Gilles Courteau trophy and a berth in the Memorial Cup. But at this point, it certainly looks like a pretty good trade for both teams. Carrier was, he had a good sophomore campaign, his first season for the Moose last year, but this year has, he's a guy that we always say he runs hot. He plays on the edge. There's a lot of grit to his game. He's got high compete, high motor, but I think this year he's really done a good job of staying out of the penalty box and finding the line and kind of straddling it, not really going over it. And he's been a little more focused on playing hockey. I think if you look at his stats here lately, points in 9 of his last 11, he leads the team in goal scoring, 27 on the year. He's just been fantastic, a guy that does lead by example out there, kind of sets the tone. And, he definitely, he leads, as we said, by example and pretty vocal off the ice as well. And then you get Oleg Kulibiakin, who comes in as, he was a player that, when you look back to what he did last year, he was playing in the United States. He is Russian, but he was over in the U.S. Last year playing. And he was with the Carolina Hurricanes U16U program and led by Justin Williams, Mr. Game 7. So you got a pretty good mentor there in Justin Williams. And he was a goal a game player with them last year. But I think he arrived here. We knew he was a sniper, but there's been a lot of other elements to his game that we've seen. And, the playmaking ability, it really has been on display all season long, and just such an exciting player for the Moose. He's, we mentioned the Russians with Victoriaville earlier on. He's just been so good as well. There's a lot of good young Russian talent in the queue this year, and again, Kulibiakin, like those guys in Victo and Shilov and Vlasov. I don't think he's going to have to wait too long to hear his name called at the draft in June.
Looking, this is the time of year, Gareth, where we start to look at the standings when we start talking playoffs, and the Moncton Wildcats are certainly the cream of the queue this year.
Yeah, they are. It's funny. You look back to the start of the season, and the Blainville Boisbriand Armada. They were the team that made a lot of moves in the off season. They brought in some great talent. They were really loading up. It really dates back to the draft, and they're a pretty impressive team. And then you look at Chicoutimi. There were some rumors. I mentioned the defenseman Thomas Lavoie with the Cape Breton Eagles that was traded. He was dealt to Chicoutimi. They've got such a deep blue line right now. They've got a ton of great young talent up front. I call them young. That's what we said for years. This has always been the season that we were expecting Chicoutimi to go on a real big run. They're absolutely loaded right now. They get guys, at 19 and 18 years old up front that are just weapons in the lineup. But Moncton, on the other hand, they're coming off, a season in which, as I said, they represented the Q at the Memorial Cup last year as Gilles Courteau champions. And just to see the way that Taylor McDougall, the GM in Moncton, to see the way that he's been able to reload this roster, to do it in a way that we really haven't seen. It's a way that has been made possible by some of the changes last year in junior hockey, and in particular in college hockey in the States with the NCAA rule change. He's a guy that's really gone out and brought in a lot of American free agents. He's drafted Americans. He's, we touched on this in the past. One of the changes this year as well, outside of the NCAA rule changes, you can have an extra import in the lineup. So you can have an extra European player, up to 3 from 2 traditionally. And he has kind of gone the way of selecting some older guys, some 19-year-olds. And we've really kind of seen him load up on guys that are potentially going to be one-and-done players, that they'll be there for this season. They won't be there the next. It's not the traditional junior hockey cycle that we have seen GMs build their rosters, compose their rosters with. He has retooled on the fly here, and it's quite remarkable. You look down the lineup, they've got so much depth. They've got so many guys that can hurt you, and they've been doing that to the opposition, basically since the end of October. They have pretty much been been unstoppable. So, as we said, that's a credit to Taylor McDougall, the GM, and certainly a credit to his father as well, the head coach there in Moncton, Gardner McDougall.
Game time tonight, 7 o'clock, as the Moose travel to Center 200 to take on Cape Breton. Gareth, have a good show, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, always great to chat, Dan. Have a good one.
The very best in the Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League. That is Garreth MacDonald. He's our play-by-play. You can catch all of the action live right from the ice right here on 95.7 News Radio. When we come back, might not feel like it right now. A cruise season's only a couple of months away. We're going to dig into that when we return. All right, welcome back. I know it's difficult to think about when we're looking out the window and looking at the thermometer this morning, and at my house it said minus 15, and we see snowbanks and white roofs and trees covered with snow and snowbanks and icy conditions, but it's not that far off, folks. We're only a couple of weeks, if you really sit and think about it, away from the start of another cruise season here in Halifax and in Nova Scotia. And as we look at the 2026 season, it will begin on the 7th of April. As I understand it, it's Viking Polaris that will be joining us. Hopefully they won't have to break ice in the harbor. And it will stretch this year right through, and normally ends around Halloween. This year it's going to stretch right through until November the 5th. The last ship scheduled to be in this year is Seabourn Ovation, it's called, and we're going to see a bunch of different ships make a call here in our part of the world in Atlantic Canada in 2026. I'm very pleased to welcome to the show today to tell us a little bit about the cruise season, upcoming cruise season, the Executive Director of the Atlantic Canada Cruise Association, and Sarah Rumley. Sarah, how are you?
Great, Dan. Thank you so much for inviting us to be part of today's show.
Oh, we know that the cruise industry is vitally important to Halifax and to Atlantic Canada. It certainly has a large economic impact right across most of, if not all of, the Atlantic provinces.
It sure does. We know that based on the latest study that we create about 2,100 jobs here locally within Atlantic Canada, and it does generate about $402 million in economic output for our entire region. So, as you said, very important to our economy, and we're happy to be part of a broader tourism picture, and especially with cruise, where we're able to help out and boost our tourism traffic and what considered to be more of a shoulder season here, particularly in Atlantic Canada, and more specifically with Nova Scotia. For September and October is when we do see the majority of our cruise visitation.
Now, Sarah, there's an awful lot of theories about why the end of the cruise season is the busiest time. Is it because the cruise passengers want to come to our part of the world and catch all of those fall colors?
You got it right. So essentially a big part of being part of the Canada-New England itinerary, where Atlantic Canada is at the heart of it, is seeing that spectacular fall foliage. So our cruise ports throughout the region work really closely with the cruise lines to grow visitation throughout spring, summer, and of course the fall. The fall just sells itself, but we believe that, summer will steal those hearts. So we always look at ways that we can market to the cruise lines and increase that summer visitation, but they are definitely coming to see those beautiful fall colors. But, it's more than that. It's about experiencing our culture, our history, and obviously we have an amazing culinary scene here throughout all of Atlantic Canada, here in Halifax as well. So cruise guests thrive, and they love to experience that when they visit here.
Yeah, it certainly shows on my waistline, that's for sure. Sarah, and Halifax has been obviously doing this for several years, but, we're getting noticed more because we're seeing new cruise lines and new ships visiting.
Absolutely. So with the cruise lines, their itinerary planning and deployment teams are always very hard at work at reinventing their itineraries and their sailings, not just here in Canada, New England, but globally. And that usually means that there's more opportunities for ships to call other ports. And it also helps with the diversity of the experiences that cruise guests can experience here in Atlantic Canada, but really throughout Canada, New England. So we have seen more ports come online here in Nova Scotia, throughout the region as well. A lot of the niche cruise lines, so that being luxury and expedition, they love calling some of the more quaint ports in our region here in Nova Scotia. So we see calls going into this season. We'll have calls into Yarmouth Shelburne, Lunenburg, Lewisburg, here in Nova Scotia, as well as the town of Pictou. So aside from having our major ports of call, or our marquee ports as we like to call them, of Halifax and Sydney here in Nova Scotia, we also have a handful of really charming niche ports that welcome cruise guests as well.
I know here in Halifax, when the Queen Mary 2 makes its port call visit here, that always generates interest with Haligonians, given our connection to Kennard and so on and so forth. And the Queen Mary 2 is coming back this year in July.
Absolutely. There is no doubt that because of Sir Samuel Kennard's deep heritage here as being a proud Haligonian, we certainly always come out to all of the Harbour Watchers, I would like to think, come out when the Queen Mary 2 is in town. So we look forward every year to welcoming Kennard back. They're certainly one of, as our current count goes, well over 25 brands that call the region. But there is, as you said, something very special about having Kennard here.
Sarah, at the end of the day, would it or could it ever be possible that Halifax become a year-round, 12-month of the year cruise destination?
Well, that is a great question. Last year, we actually had our first winter cruise here in the region, and it wasn't a call that was made here in Halifax, but it was actually the Port of Corner Brook in Newfoundland and Labrador who welcomed Penance Le Comanche Chateau as part of their inaugural boreal cruise season. Boreal winter is what they were calling it, which really focused on calling ports in the St. Lawrence as well as St. Pierre and Miquelon, our French archipelago here within Atlantic Canada, but it called Corner Brook. So, it just depends on the deployment. Right now, a lot of the cruise ships are focused on being in those sunny, warmer destinations, but there are cruise guests out there that want to experience a traditional winter. So I won't say it's not possible. I think that there's always a possibility. It may not be, a 12-month a year thing, but there's always a chance that we could see a cruise come to the region, to Atlantic Canada in the wintertime.
Sarah, I know that many listening today are looking forward to seeing those funnels on the downtown Halifax harborfront and seeing all of those people that come to visit. Appreciate your time today. Have a good weekend.
Yes, you as well, Dan. Again, appreciate the opportunity and wish everybody a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
That is Sarah Rumley from the Atlantic Canadian Cruise Ships Association. It is a big business, folks. There's no doubt about that, and we certainly see an awful lot of ships here in Halifax, and I'm one of those people that go down to see the Queen Mary 2 because it's a wonderful ship, and I know that many people are ship watchers here, and I know many businesses and business owners that are listening to us today, particularly in the downtown area, look forward to cruise ship season every year. It brings a lot of money into HRM. Time for us to take another break here on the program. We're going to get an update on the news here at 11 o'clock. On the other side of it, it's often imitated but never duplicated. That is the Friday Free-for-All, your opportunity to wrap up the work week with whatever it is on your mind. I am curious, though, if City Council's plan to cancel Saturday free parking in the downtown areas on city streets here in HRM, if that's going to change your habits. Is that the final nail in the coffin, so to speak, of you traveling downtown to do your shopping or to do your business on Saturdays? Will you instead venture to places where you can park in those big lots for free? But regular rules apply. You can bring anything to the table. The lines are now open. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The Friday Free-for-All kicks off after the updates. Well, Blue Jays fans, some breaking news for you today as we are getting ready. I think pitchers and catchers are getting ready to get down to Florida and begin next week. What has become or who has become a staple of Blue Jays broadcasts here on Sportsnet for many, many years has decided to hang up the headphones. And I'm speaking of Buck Martinez, who announced this morning that after some serious consideration, after the Game 7 of the World Series that we watched, the country watched on Sportsnet earlier this year that he had a long conversation with his wife and had some time to think about the past and look forward to our future. And in a statement said, after many heartfelt conversations, we've both decided that it was time for me to step out of the booth and enjoy the years ahead. He writes, it's been a fantastic journey with Sportsnet, the Blue Jays, and the wonderful Blue Jays fans all over the world. Thank you for embracing me and welcoming me and my family and I in a way that has made us feel like we're a part of yours. I'll dearly miss my working partners, the leadership at Rogers and Toronto Blue Jays Baseball Club, all of whom made it so much fun to be at the ballpark talking about the game I've loved for my whole life. As to the fans specifically, I'll miss the selfies, the handshakes, and the welcoming smiles. I'll never forget any of those, nor the unwavering support and generosity, which has meant more than words can say. I look forward to continuing to root for the Blue Jays along with you, and you'll always be in my heart. My sincere appreciation to all of you, and that from Buck Martinez. So it's the end of an era for the broadcast, the Blue Jay broadcast, as Buck Martinez has decided, after going through some recent health struggles, that now is the time for him to hang up the headphones. And we wish you a long retirement, Buck, and all of the best. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. It's time now for the Friday Free-for-All, your chance to wrap up the work week and discuss whatever it is on your mind. I am curious if this plan by City Council to raise parking rates in HRM and get rid of free Saturday parking on city streets is going to change your habits and maybe have you, if you're already avoiding traveling to our downtown cores, be it Dartmouth or be it here in Halifax. Is this something that is going to change the way that you shop? 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let us begin with Jim. Jim, how are you?
Good morning, Dan. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm not too bad for a Friday, I'll tell you that much.
Good. First of all, I got two things, if I can.
Sure.
Thanks for taking my call. The first one, the parking. I think they should leave it alone. Let it be free. I've been down there a lot on occasion, using my car and what have you. And I think it's going to hurt small business, in my view. I'll be anxious to see what happens there. Times are tough enough as it is, let alone discouraging people from coming downtown. The idea should be to come downtown and spend your money. Now, having said that, I would like to make a public apology on your station on behalf of what I said yesterday in regards to the buyback program. I mentioned I disagreed with Premier Houston, but I did not mean to say that he was disingenuous. I had the wrong terminology. We all make mistakes. Sometimes I mouth off and don't realize what the actual meaning of that word is, but it does mean, I guess, that the guy was a liar, and that's certainly not the case. I voted for Premier Houston twice now, so I want to make that public apology to Premier Houston. That word was inappropriate, and I apologize.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. Have a good weekend.
Okay, take care.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I know sometimes when we're having discussions and the adrenaline's going and it gets heated, that sometimes we say words that or phrases that perhaps we didn't mean to say or didn't really truly think out the meaning, and sometimes that happens when we're doing these kind of discussions, and it takes a strong person to admit they're wrong and to apologize, and I respect Jim for doing that. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's go to the phones and welcome Sean to the show. Sean, how are you?
I'm not too bad, Dan. How you been?
I'm okay. It's Friday, brother.
Yeah, I hear that. And the ball's starting to be talked about again.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Pitchers and catchers next week.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it. So, Dan, I just want to talk about a few things that have kind of been bugging me.
Sure. This
GST thing that the Liberals are rolling out, I don't understand Liberal voters and how Mark Carney tweeted about it the other day, tweeted out that it was like praising it like it was some big thing that's going to help millions of Canadians. And it just seems like, how do you believe this stuff? If you look at the numbers, he says that a family of four will get up to $1,100 a year, right? So do the math on that. You got 52 weeks in a year. How much money is that a week that a family will receive?
It's not much, that's for sure.
About $20 a week is going to go into that doesn't even. I was at the grocery store and a pack of chicken is $25.
Yeah, I hear you.
So you can't even get a pack of chicken out of what this rebate is giving to people. And the Liberals are toting it out like it's going to solve the affordability crisis and everybody's going to be okay. And it's just like, it's almost a slap in the face when you think, because what I personally think, if you're going to play with a GST like that to give people a affordability break, why can't they pull the GST off of all food? Everything in the grocery store. There's no GST on it anymore. Is it really going to hurt the government that bad? Like, they rake in GST, they double dip on everything else with GST, and they can't just lift it for the food for maybe a year so people can breathe. I mean, like, Dan, I have employees, and it's hard to watch my employees when I pay top dollar to them. They make more than that going rate. And they're still struggling. And that hurts me as an employer to watch that, because, like, and it just seems like a easy problem. And two of them won't even get any GST increase because they make too much money to even qualify for it.
I agree. Yep.
Right. So they're not, and they're struggling still too, just because and so if they took the GST off of food in the grocery store, it would help every Canadian.
Sean,
right?
I think, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I was looking at my grocery bill the other day, and a lot of food already doesn't have GST on it. Now, there's the processed stuff, and you know what I mean?
Does. Yeah, a lot of it does. But I still think that, like, but if you look at the stuff that majority of people buy for kids' lunches and snacks and stuff like that, like, and then you got like Cheryl, the food guy, their professor, said, like, how granola bars, if it's a 6-pack, it's not taxed, but if it's under a 6-pack, it has GST. Well, if you go down the aisle, now they're all 5-packs.
Yes.
Right? You can't even get a 6-pack anymore. So, like, and that's stuff that's going to go in a kid's lunch bag, right? That's all taxable. So it just, and they tout it out there like it's going to save humanity. Right, like, and it's the same as this EV thing. Like, since when are we trusting China? Like, not even a year ago, Mark Carney doubled, tripled, quadrupled down that it was the biggest threat to Canada, not Donald Trump. Right, and what's changed? Did they apologize for executing 4 of our citizens? Did they apologize for holding the 2 Michaels in captivity in filth and disgust? Did they apologize for interfering in 2 of our elections? No. And we're going to let them now build 50,000 more EVs in their country. Well, what does that do for China? Well, they're going to need more energy. So where does China get their energy from? 90% of it comes from Russia. So now we're funding both sides of the war. When you got Donald Trump in the States, now I know it's a bad word, but look what he just did in India. He made a trade deal with India to sell them natural gas, oil, which they were buying from Russia. Well, now they're not going to be buying energy from Russia and buying it from the States. So, and now we're going to start buying and doing deals with China to increase their energy output, and they're going to keep pumping it through pipelines. Like, they got pipelines from Russia. They buy like 12 to 15 million barrels a day of oil from Russia. They're one of Russia's biggest allies. And we're supposed to just close our eyes and say, oh, yeah, never mind. No, they're good now. No need to say, like, what is this government? It's just so Trudeau. It's just unbelievable.
Sean, I'm up against the break, brother. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Dan. Have a good weekend.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We're back after the break. Welcome back as we roll through the Friday free-for-all. A couple of lines are open, folks, if you want to get in and share your thoughts. 902-405-6000 or 801-8255. It's a Friday, that's for sure. Let's go back to the phones, and we welcome Joe to the show. Joe, how are you?
Hey, Dan, what's going on?
Nothing. It's on your mind.
Happy Friday, dude. Just wanted to tell you a little story about Buck. Anybody who's a baseball fan, I'd encourage them to check it out. It's on YouTube. But Buck, he's playing backstop, and he gets run over at the plate and breaks his leg. And there's a runner on third, and he starts going. He sees Buck down on the ground. He's like, "There's an open base," and the third baseman throws the ball to him, and he catches it and tags the second guy out at home with a broken leg. Buck's awesome. I mean, I just mentioned it to the Vanessa. He bleeds blue, so
he certainly does. He got drafted, or he got traded to the Blue Jays in, I think it was 1981, and has been some form of the organization since. So it's gonna be a big hole to fill.
I say the Sky Dome, but he's the governor of
Rogers Center now, right?
Rogers Center, yeah. He is. He can do stuff like the press isn't allowed in some areas. Buck just walks through and talks to the baseball players. So, right. But yeah, I mean, I encourage anybody that's a baseball fan to check it out, because it's an incredible play in Blue Jays history. So
appreciate it, Joe.
Yep. Thanks very much, Dan. Have a good one.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Back to the phones and say hello to Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. What's on your mind?
Good, Dan. That story buddy just told about Buck Martinez,
right.
I've got one better.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that play. You're right. That was a good story. Yeah, he's like Bobby Bond.
Yep.
He won the Stanley Cup on one leg.
On one leg, for sure.
But yeah, hello. So, anyways, he's going to be missed. His commentary, the way he talks, the way his pronunciations and stuff, and he's pretty cool. I actually met him and Hazel May. I lived in Toronto for a couple of years, and I went to every game. And I rubbed shoulders with them. And Hazel May and Tabler, all those guys.
Right.
And it was fun. But he's pretty awesome for sure.
And it's going to be sorely missed, I think, by Blue Jays fans.
I know, he's amazing commentator. He's not even that tall. I'm 6 foot, 1-2. He's I was looking down at him.
Yeah.
And tough as nails. And Hazel May's not very tall either.
No, she's pretty small.
It was kind of a fun deal. But I got selfies and the T-shirts and everything. But anyways, there's one other topic I'd like to touch on.
Sure, quickly, Chris.
I don't want to use all the time and everything, because I hope Gloria McCluskey comes on today. I know Cecil's coming.
He is.
And just tell Cecil. I know he thinks the Patriots are going to win, but I don't know what he's smoking. The Patriots are going to be not going to win.
So you've got the Seahawks.
The Seahawks have better defense. The Patriots have played weak teams to get to where they're at, and they barely got there. And they got a rookie quarterback. I say 28-14, Seattle.
You got it here first. Thanks, Chris.
And you know who else I can't stand? Is that Bad Bunny. Why don't they have the Rolling Stones?
Oh, I think the Rolling Stones, have the Rolling Stones already done it? Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, Chris, I appreciate it.
Or Taylor Swift. Bad Bunny? Who the hell's he?
Thanks, Chris. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I am not, and I think I've said it already, not a fan of Bad Bunny. Don't listen to his music. That doesn't mean that he's not popular. I think he's the most streamed artist. I think he knocked Taylor Swift off the top of the heap as the most streamed artist on the Spotifys and the Amazon Musics of the world. So there is a big following for Bad Bunny. It may not be what you and I listen to, but I'm certainly not in that demographic. I'm on the outside of it. The Rolling Stones, I think, have passed their best before date. Are they iconic? Yes. Will they always be iconic? Absolutely. But are they still as iconic live? I mean, Mick Jagger's over 80 years old. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Where are we here? Oh, Gloria, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for taking my call. How did that guy know I was coming on?
See, maybe he's clairvoyant.
What are they thinking, Dan, to raise the parking rates?
Right.
You know, it has always been said that small business is the backbone of our economy. And we know many small businesses have been having a very hard time. Restaurants are closing. And then they're faced with a tax increase and now hit them again, raise the parking so that people will go where there is free parking. There's lots of restaurants where you can go in Dartmouth Crossing, Bayers Lake, along the Bedford Highway, where there's no parking fee. And that's where they will go. You know, as I said, what are they thinking? They're not thinking. Hopefully they will shake their heads and change their mind on this.
Gloria,
I think it's wrong.
Yeah, I think earlier we had a conversation with Sue Uteck, who I know you're very familiar with.
Oh yes, I know
and
Sue.
she says that that parking is always kind of the low-hanging fruit when it comes to budgeting. Do you agree with her?
Yeah, I agree with her.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree with her.
You're a big baseball fan. You going to miss Buck Martinez?
I'm not a big baseball fan, but I sure watched the Blue Jays last year. No, I'm a big hockey fan.
Right. You're looking forward to the Olympics?
I'm glued to my TV watching hockey all the time. And now the Olympics.
Right.
I just want to say in closing, I'm sad to see the St. Patrick's Day parade.
Right.
Canceled. I was the Grand Marshal a couple of times.
There you go.
The last time I was in a convertible with the great Brian Doherty.
Mm-hmm. From the old Triangle.
So, yeah, I think it's sad. With the maiden name of McCarthy, and Lord Munster McCarthy owned the Blarney Castle at one time.
There you go.
I'm for everything that's Irish. I hope they can pull it off, but I understand if they can't.
Have a fantastic weekend, Gloria.
You have a great weekend, too.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. That is the number if you want to join the conversation and get into the discussion. Several lines are open, folks. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We're going to stop for the news. Friday Free For All continues on the other side. Welcome back. This is the Friday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. Hope you're having a fantastic time. It is the Friday Free For All. This is your opportunity to join the conversation. Our telephone lines are open, 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. And as a reminder, it's the regular rules apply to the open hour. You can bring whatever it is to the conversation. That is why we do this, and it's a good opportunity for perhaps get stuff off your chest or perhaps start some discussion that we haven't touched on here on the program over the last little while. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Back to the phones. We welcome Len to the show. Len, how are you?
Not too bad, Dan. It's a beautiful, beautiful day.
It's so cold out there.
Well, yeah, but you know, with the sun shining, I don't even need the heat on in the car here because the sun is just heating the inside of the car.
There you go.
Very well. But anyway, I would like to say I was in the retail business one time, and I must admit that it's always great when somebody offers the retailer a way of maybe making some money from their business. But when I hear the councillors from Nova Scotia voting on taking away and raising the price of parking in downtown Halifax, which these people these small businesses are already suffering, because of the high expenses of rent, water bills, electric bill, common area taxes. Oh, my God. It's just terrible. And, to me, if I was a government and I wanted to help these people that are supporting the city with the money that they pay out all the time, give them a break, for God's sake, and have free parking on the weekend, at least. Another thing I would promote, if the government wanted to help the ordinary person in our province, take away all the taxes every weekend. Make it a tax-free weekend once a month. Wouldn't that certainly help the economy? I would say so. It's not going to hurt anybody else, but it's going to hurt the poor little businessman that's trying to make a living. And now the only thing that's going to happen with this particular incident with the government wanting to take away and raise the prices on parking and everything, businesses downtown on Spring Garden Road and all downtown area, they're going to go they're going to go out of business. They're going to say, why are we operating down here when we're suffering? We can't even, we're trying just to break even, and nobody wants to be in business just to break even. They want to at least make some money, for God's sake. So that's my opinion. At least once a month, no taxes and free parking. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend.
Appreciate that, Len. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The Premier in the studio yesterday saying that we're staring down yet another deficit budget. He wouldn't commit to a number. Did say it's going to be well over $1 billion. So we are hurting when it comes to revenue. And as much as it may be a benefit to business owners, Len, and to consumers, you and I and everybody else, to have these tax-free days, I would imagine that the province would have something to say about the loss of revenue on those days. All of that being said, there is one point with that Len raised that I will agree with, and that is that we're creating disincentives for people to open businesses in downtown Halifax. I don't know if you've been down there lately, and perhaps it's getting a little better, but there are still a lot of empty storefronts in the downtown, at least on the Halifax side. And this isn't going to do anything to incentivize anybody to do that, right? Now I get the rents at the in the power centers, as they're called, the Bears Lakes of the world and the Dartmouth Crossings of the world are much higher than in the downtown, right? And you have to pay for all that free parking somehow. But would you open up a shop on Barrington Street right now, knowing that parking is already at a premium, right? To find, and now the rates are going up, and we're trying to take away free Saturday parking, which is an incentive for people to come to your business. I wonder if business owners are as concerned as Len is about that. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Hello, Keith. Keith, you there?
Hi. I just calling, wondering if anybody knows about what happened if charges were laid down in Shelburne, where that 12-year-old boy was mauled to death by those 3 dogs. You never hear no more about it.
To be honest, Keith, I don't know, and
have they charged
I will
the
certainly
homeowner yet or not?
I don't know. I haven't. I don't recall, and I will look during the break, but I don't recall it being sort of very much talked about anyway.
Now, you don't hear anything from the reporters. Like, they don't go after no stories anymore. They wait for the stories to come to them. And you don't hear, what's the follow-ups and everything.
It's
just wondering. I never hear no more about it or anything.
We'll dig into that during the break, Keith. I appreciate it.
Okay, then. Thank you.
Thank you. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. That is the number if you want to join the conversation. Some emails to pass along before we take the next break here. This one comes to us from Trevor. It says, good morning. He said, I've tracked everything since the mid-'90s and wanted to give you a heads up about my grocery bill. This is from Calgary, mind you, and up until this year, I just bought what I wanted, although I do try to buy in bulk to save money at places like Costco. Not eating out. These numbers are strictly my grocery bill with a few things like dish soap mixed in. 2025, I averaged $846 a month for one person and $127 a month eating outside the home. 2024, I averaged $618 a month for one person for the month and $200 a month eating outside the home. I can go back a long way, but the above two of the last 2 years for groceries and eating out at restaurants and so on and so forth. So a couple $100 more at the grocery store a month, at least according to Trevor on his grocery bill. Obviously, this one from Rob. Obviously, having to pay for street parking on Saturday will reduce commerce downtown. I can understand wanting to raise revenue, but gutting the businesses in the core is not the way to do it. That comes to us from Rob. And this from Mark. It reads, the city needs these parking rate hikes to help pay for these bike lanes that no one uses it. It was easy. I was listening to somebody yesterday who said the debate surrounding bike lanes is a populist piñata that keeps getting bantered around in the city. Interesting description. We're back after the break. All right, rolling on here on a sunny Friday morning as we get you set up for the weekend. This is the Friday Free-for-All, folks. Your chance to join the conversation and talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. Bike lanes came up in an email earlier on here, just before the break, and the moniker of the populist piñata that was attached to it. I hadn't heard it called that before. Anyway, I'm going to share as we get ready to welcome you on the show here. Lines are open, folks. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. I came to a revelation with the bike lane issue here in HRM on a visit to downtown Halifax earlier this week. I was down there. I go down there. I don't go there, to be honest, don't go down there very often. But I was down there and it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon or somewhere around there. And I was driving around and I was listening to the afternoon news wheel and thinking about sort of what we're going to do for the show and so on and so forth. And I don't know if you've been down into the South End and into perhaps Lower Water Street, you know, where I'm talking about, right by the Discovery Center, by the new Muir Hotel, and that busy corridor, right? And I was traveling down Lower Water Street because I was going to park at one of the parking lots down there on the waterfront. And it suddenly came to me why we're struggling so much with street design and with the rapid mobility plan. And I think it's because this council and previous councils are trying to please everybody at the same time. And before you start to write emails on me, let me finish my thought here. If you drive down Lower Water Street, it's a prime example, particularly from the Discovery Center kind of to the other side, just past Moore Street, right? It's a two-lane road. It's a one-way, two-lane road that goes from the old Seaport Market all the way to the new Cogswell, right? And it's a two-lane, one-way road. And if you drive down there, you'll notice that there's a bike lane, a protected bike lane on the right-hand side with the curbs and the bollards. Yet on the left-hand side of that roadway, there's on-street parking. So the big complaint, other than its cost, that we get with bike lanes is the fact that it eats up on-street parking. So council trying to please everybody in this situation, have taken a two-lane, one-way road, and let's not forget that container traffic comes down that road as it tries to egress from Haltram, right? There's on-street parking on one side. There's a protected bike lane with bollards on the other. A two-lane roadway is now a lane and a quarter, maybe a lane and a half. and then you add snowbanks on top of that and truck traffic. I think that it just feels like the integrated mobility plan, or whatever the plan is that we're using on this, is trying to do too much at once. I think that City Council needs to just stop, take a breath, and focus on congestion, relieving congestion at one place. And I think transit is the place that we start that. I think that bus rapid transit is probably going to be the most effective. Wouldn't it make sense to fix one thing first, then try to keep on-street parking, try to get bike lanes, try to get bus lanes done all at the same time? Wouldn't it make sense to focus on one? Just my opinion. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. This email comes to us from Tom this morning. It says, "Hey, Dan, and he's referring to parking, further shows how not welcome folks are with cars in Halifax and Dartmouth. It also shows how desperate our leaders are for more of our money. Once again, they simply hit us with a way to take even more of our already stretched to death dollars. Politicians never come up with a way to cut expenses. It just comes to the taxpayer for more and then moves on." Thanks, Dan. And that comes to us from Tom. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. I know I've said here several times on the program that City Council is going to have to put all the options on the table when it comes to dealing with this deficit that they have to eat away. Let's not forget that municipal governments in our part of the world are unable to carry deficit budgets, so they don't have a choice. They have to either increase the tax rate or come up with ways to save it. And I understand that this is an easy way to do some of that, right? Parking is certainly contentious, but it's a big revenue generator, and increasing it. Let's not forget they're talking about increasing the rate by 25%. In addition to all of these these eliminations of the Saturday free parking and so on and so forth. I wonder what big tenants like the Halifax Mooseheads think of that are predominantly doing things on the weekends, right? We were talking, it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about dynamic pricing? Right? I think it was Councillor White that brought the motion forward, and I stand to be corrected on that, but where we would have surge pricing, like the ride-sharing Ubers of the world do when it gets busy. It wasn't that long ago we're talking about that. Now we've moved off of that, and now we're just doing a flat increase of 25% and eliminating Saturday parking. It's how quickly things change. Rob sends us an email, and he says people aren't opposed to bike lanes. They're opposed to reducing space for cars because there is unprecedented congestion on the peninsula. They're opposed to costs that have ballooned out of control and making taxpayers foot the bill. Characterizing opponents as cranky Luddites is a tactic to shut down the debate. And that is Rob who sent us that email today. Budget discussions continue, folks. The budgeting process in HRM is a long process. They're hearing from all the business units now and making recommendations to send it to another phase, and then the final decisions will be made on whether or not they go forth with these proposed changes. There's still another step to go. And if you think that the council is making the wrong decision on this, if you think that, or as a business owner, you think it's going to impact your business, or as a citizen is going to change your habits and keep you out of the downtowns, there's public participation in these meetings. Every meeting has a public participation, right? You can join it. You can stand in front of the budget committee, which is all of council, and you can let them know how you think. And sometimes I think that there is a group of people who are very active and understand the way the system works and take advantage of that. And a lot of, particularly those that are in opposition to some of these programs like bike lanes and now parking, not necessarily represented as well at council during those public debates. So I encourage you to participate in the budget process. This is your chance. We know that councillors are politicians, and politicians tend to sway depending on how public opinion moves, right? And if they only hear one side of things, and if they're not listening to the program, which most of them do anyway, then maybe they don't hear the other side of things, and they don't hear that you're opposed to these things. It's, I think it's, as a taxpayer, it's incumbent upon us to voice our concerns, either for or against. I'm not suggesting it's wrong that you go out and support a program like bike lanes or Halifax or oppose things like the widening of Roby Street to allow for 2 bus lanes along there, or all of the topics that we've discussed in the past. I don't begrudge that at all. That is part of our civic duty is to hold our councillors to account, right? At all levels of government. I think that a lot of times it's easy for us, and I'll put myself into this category. It's easy for us to sit back and just complain. Oh, the government doesn't know what they're doing, right? We hear it here an awful lot. We hear it here a lot of the days of the week. But my experience is that if you can make a good argument, if you can make a strong case, that puts that question into the politician's mind. And if they think that there's a possibility that this could work, or it benefits them, sometimes you can change their minds. I know what the saying is that you can't fight City Hall, and for the most part, you can't. Or it's very difficult to, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't try. And this budget is a prime opportunity for us to do that. Thanks to everybody who joined the conversation. I appreciate it. I love it when you dial the numbers and join the show. We're going to take a break for the news here. On the other side of it, we know that we're going to change gears a little bit here. We know that there's a shortage of qualified people in Nova Scotia to take over some very important jobs, and one of those is our veterinary technicians. There's a pronounced shortage of them here in Nova Scotia. So the SPCA is working in conjunction with, I think, NSCC to build their own school and to create a program to address veterinary technician shortages. A conversation with the Chief Strategy Officer and Vice President of the SPCA College of Animal Welfare. Marni Tuttle will be our guest when we come back. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. Happy Friday. We're back after the news. All right, welcome back. Anybody that has a pet and has to have the pet brought in to get checked out by a vet, and that the vet clinics knows that those are busy places these days, and there is a pronounced shortage of veterinary assistants and people here in Nova Scotia, and the SPCA has identified that need and is now moving to try and fill some of those voids with its very own program for veterinary technicians here in Nova Scotia. I'm happy to welcome to the show to tell us a little bit more about this Chief Strategy Officer and VP SPCA College of Animal Welfare, and that's Marni Tuttle. Marni, happy Friday.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. I appreciate it. This is the shortage of vet techs in Nova Scotia. Are we at an epidemic level here?
Oh, that's an interesting way to put it. I guess if you think about a typical veterinary practice, you'd want to see one veterinarian for every 2 veterinary technicians, and then you'd want a support team of vet assistants around them. And right now, for 500 veterinarians registered in the province, we only have about 360 veterinary technicians.
Yikes.
Yeah, so the ratio is kind of backwards right now. We'd like to have 2 to 1, and instead we've got the opposite.
Marni, why is that? Is it a training pipeline problem? Is it that they're leaving the profession? Is it a combination of all of that?
That is very perceptive of you. You hit both parts right on the nose. There are only a handful of places in Atlantic Canada to train as a veterinary technician. So right now in Nova Scotia, you'd go to the Dow AC campus in Truro.
Right.
New Brunswick hosts one at their Olton College in Miramichi. And we are about 1 year behind the College of the North Atlantic in St. John's in starting a vet tech program. So if you think about all of the Atlantic provinces being supported by just those 3 programs, there's not a lot of opportunity to get veterinary technicians in the profession. And then the other piece that you mentioned is the length of stay in that profession is relatively short. It can be quite stressful and quite difficult, and people that aren't well equipped often are sort of a 5 to 7 year time span on that career.
And right, and I've heard anecdotally from people close to the veterinary community that people leave because it gets to be a lot, and sometimes the interaction with pet owners can cause them to not want to do their job anymore.
Yeah, I think everybody who goes into this profession goes in because they love animals.
Right.
But all pets and most farm animals as well come along with people. And you need to be ready to deal with people on some of the happiest days of their lives when they're welcoming a new puppy or kitten, but also some of the most difficult days. And you're involved in some really challenging decisions. So one of the things that we've done with the SPCA College of Animal Welfare is in our existing vet assistant program and in our new vet tech program that we're launching this spring, we've embedded mental health and wellness into every piece of our curriculum. So whether you're learning about animal nursing or customer service, you're going to learn something about your own mental health and well-being, supporting yourself, working with teams, and all of those things that we're hoping will lead to longevity in the industry.
Tell me a little bit about the college itself. I understand your campus is in Dartmouth.
We are. We have a building that is right next door to the SPCA shelter on Scarf Court. So in that building right now, we have an auditorium where we have our vet assistant program. We have a hospital that serves the public, the Tartan Tales Hospital, but also serves as a place our students do rotations. And the building's under renovation right now, and there's a brand new classroom and a brand new laboratory that will be opening for the vet tech program.
Tell me a little bit about the program, Marni. It's 2 years, correct?
It's 2 years, and it's intensive. You're going to expect to be in class sort of 8:30 to 3:30, Monday to Thursday for basically 2 years. And there'll be your weeks when you're in clinical practice where you'll be actually out for 5 days a week on the road or in another hospital learning. It's also intensive in the requirements to graduate. We are regulated by the province as a private career college, and that means every one of our graduates has to attend 90% or more of their classes, and they have to achieve a grade of 70% or higher on every single class.
I would imagine, though, at the end of it, the success rate at finding a job is pretty good.
Yes, that's our expectation. You know, the SPCA is a significant employer of veterinarians and veterinary technicians across the province. And I know, for instance, we've had a position open for 5 years in Yarmouth. And so we know that there's a demand all across the province. You can go on our website and see where we're hiring. But you can also look at the EVTA, the Association of Veterinary Technicians, and there are constantly job postings there for all around the Maritimes.
Are financial aids available for students that to enroll in your program?
We've had some really wonderful donors step forward, so we hope to have some scholarships and bursaries that will meet the needs of students who aren't able to afford the full cost of the tuition.
Right. And obviously, when's the next intake if somebody's interested? There's an application process, right?
The applications are open now. You can visit us at spcacollege.ca and submit an application. We have permission from the province to be advertising at this point, and we'll be looking at all of those applications, working through them, and fingers crossed, you know, construction delays notwithstanding, we're hoping to launch the first week of May.
Marni, tuitions, is it expensive?
Yeah, the course is expensive. It has a lot of hands-on time, so there's a lot of time spent off-site at different locations to see farm animals, for example, and wildlife and laboratory. So it's expensive for us to run. So we're expecting tuition to come in between $16,000 and $18,000 a year.
And the hope is, of course, to have the premier class start in the fall.
No, we're hoping to kick off in May.
Okay.
So they would be. That's why we're accepting applications now. We're hoping to be able to sign contracts with those students in April and get everybody up and off and headed into their education in May. The students who choose to participate in this as their inaugural class, they'll spend the 2 years with us in classroom and in clinical rotations, and then they'll write their exam to become a registered vet tech. And when they become a registered vet tech, that turns our college into a registered vet tech program.
There you go. So time is of the essence.
Yes, absolutely. And we're looking for students from all kinds of different backgrounds. So if you're looking for a job change or a career change, or maybe you graduated in June from high school and you're trying to figure out what comes next, we're a great place to come look if you think that this might be of interest.
Marni, how does somebody get more information?
You should visit our website at spcacollege.ca, and on there you can find an application and also an information sheet that will tell you all the courses that are included, the grades that you're required to have, and the prerequisites to get into the program.
Marni, appreciate your time. Have a good weekend.
Thanks so much, Dan. I really appreciate the interest.
That is Marni Tuttle, Chief Strategy Officer and Vice President, SPCA College of Animal Welfare. When we come back, a conversation with our good friend and mortgage guru, Clinton Wilkins, as we get set to launch another edition of Mortgage 101 this weekend here on 95.7 News Radio. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back to the Top Show. I'm Dan Aalders. Hope you're having a fantastic day out there. Well, we're at that time of the month. We're in February. I know many of you are planning your Valentine's Day extravaganza as we getting towards the hearts and the flowers. And this month on Mortgage 101, we're focusing a little bit on love and on home ownership and loving your home. And of course, the main driving force behind Mortgage 101 is our friend and mortgage guru, and that is Clinton Wilkins, and he joins me here in the studio today. Clinton, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Dan. Now, do you have any Valentine's plans? We'll get this right out of the way right now.
Valentine's Day to me is usually maybe a box of chocolates.
Only a box of chocolates.
That's usually it. Maybe a card. How about you?
Well, here's the thing. I have a bunch of girlfriends. I have a plus one as well, but we sponsor the Winter Warmers, as you know, all year long, and we'll give away a couple tickets. Vanessa can pick the caller. We'll give 2 tickets away for the Winter Warmers, and it is, we refer to it as Galentine's. It's like me and my harem of friends. We sponsor the Winter Warmers with Rankin McGinnis, and it's such a great time. It's this Saturday afternoon, actually.
902-402, oh my goodness.
What's the number again?
405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. If you want tickets to the Winter Warmers, and Clinton and all of his girlfriends, I don't know if his plus one's going to like the girlfriends or not, but
who knows?
That's okay.
You might even get a little Valentine while you're there.
This month on Mortgage 101, we focus on loving your home, but we also focus a little bit on what happens when and if love breaks down.
This is true. We had a really awesome family lawyer on our show. His name was Derek from MDW Law, which is just really next door to the studio. We can see it right from here. It was awesome. We talked about, what happens when you're common law? Are you on title? Are you not on title? What are your legal rights? And we talk really about what happens when, marriages break down. It happens every day. And I think he wouldn't commit, but I'm sure it's still over 50% of marriages break down in divorce. And obviously a big piece of that involves the matrimonial home and where people live. And people need to live somewhere. And, and one thing I really kind of, I think I touched on a little bit, and he agreed with me. What people get wild about two things. One is money, and obviously that involves a home, and the other thing is kids. So we touch on a bunch of these topics, but it's not just about when love goes wrong. We also talk about, maybe people that own a home or people that own a home who do not own a home yet. Maybe you want to buy a new home in 2026, or maybe the home that you have, you want to improve, like maybe you want to do a refinance.
Right. It's that time of the year, right? We've been through Christmas and now we through Blue Monday and January and the bills of Christmas. And now it's been these snowstorms after snowstorm after snowstorm, and everybody's kind of housebound and maybe looking around their house going, I really don't like that kitchen, or I really don't like the carpet, or I don't like the furniture. And maybe I don't like the house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's decision time. This is the planning stage, right? This is February and into March is the time to start planning for what you're planning to do with your house for 2026.
So many times I see people in the spring and they want to renovate, but it takes them until the fall to get going. Do your planning now. Get your finances ready now. Do your mortgage refinance now and be ready to go. And I always recommend to people, like, when you're hiring a contractor, get 2 or 3 quotes. Don't just date the first contractor that you meet, as funny as that might be. Ask a few questions, get some reviews, and, and really know the scope of what you want to do.
February is probably not the best time, but I would imagine some have already made that decision, Clinton. And by the best time, I mean that it's the weather it makes it difficult if you're in the market to go out and kick the tires on a new house. But the market is busy, and the supply in the market is perhaps going to be under pressure with some of the new rules that
I think the inventory is growing, but I do think there's going to be an increased level of demand due to the announcement that the province made around the 2% down payment that's going to be available through the credit union network here in Nova Scotia.
We talked about that earlier in the week, about that program. You've had a chance to kind of dig into it a little bit. Still some concerns and some pros and cons when it comes to the new home buyers plan.
Yeah, I think there's definitely pros and cons no matter what type of mortgage financing you're going to get. And obviously there's risks, and you need to know what the risks are. I think overall, when I've digested it more so, I think the program is going to work well for people outside of HRM Enhance. These are areas that are less serviced by bank lenders, by mortgage brokers. The bulk of mortgage brokers in the province of Nova Scotia, let's be frank, majority of them are in Halifax. And even these bank lenders, they don't have branches so much in rural communities. But let me tell you, who does? The credit unions. And those are the ones that are typically putting their arms around some of these smaller communities. And I think these folks, and this area, they will benefit most from this program. And the cap in the more rural areas outside of HRM Enhance, the cap is $500,000.
$570,000 in HRM, $500,000 outside of HRM. Do you think with this new program and all of the buzz about it, there's a lot of people talking about it. I can't go anywhere.
I mean, we're part of the buzz here too,
right? And do you think that's going to put pressure on those lower valued homes?
I think so. And you know what happens, Dan? This is a game of supply and demand. And less supply, more demand, the price is going to go up. And I think the sub 570 here in Halifax, I think there's going to be even more demand. And let me tell you, the pressure on that price point of home already is very high here. The average price in HRM is somewhere around $600,000, and that's the hottest price point. And obviously anything below $600,000 is very, very busy. I think it's going to put increased demand on the sub 570 price point here in Halifax.
Mortgage 101 goes Saturday and Sunday at 11 o'clock. You can listen to Clinton and myself and Derek, our special guest. And I'll tell you what, there's some valuable information in there, and I truly urge you to listen to it. Thanks, Clinton.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
It's interesting times in the real estate market, isn't it? Right? This new home buyers program is being talked about not only in HRM and in the outlying areas, but right across the country. I've received emails from real estate watchers and people in the industry and in the lending industry that are questioning what the province's thoughts were behind this. It's on the front page where we see a decrease in the down payment to 2%. I mean, that's a significant saving, right? And not having to pay the mortgage insurance, the CMHC insurance, which is, I know that's a brand name, but that's kind of what people refer to, and that on a $450,000 house is about what, $17,000, right? That's a significant saving, and as is the down payment. On the other side of it, are we opening ourselves up as a province to problems in the future, down the road, right? These mortgages can be a very long time, and Clinton lays it out pretty clear in Mortgage 101. That's of course going to happen this weekend about how and when people can move off of that mortgage. They're kind of tied to the one lender until they can get, I think it's 80% of their mortgage down, and then by law can move their mortgage from one place to another. So they could be a quote unquote married to this mortgage for some time. And I talked to the Premier about this on our show yesterday, and I said, are you concerned about having to back these mortgages 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years down the road? And he said that there was some concern for that, but he thought that the squeeze was worth the juice. And he said that this is going to get more people into the home ownership realm. I do worry, and I think Clinton worries as well, that we are going to put extreme pressure on the lower end of the housing market. If you go to an MLS site or to your favorite real estate agent and you look for homes under $570,000 in HRM and the outlying areas under $500,000, there are some, right? There are a few. A lot of them are condos in HRM, but there are some single-family detached homes in the outlying, on the edges of the city and in the outlying areas. But I think that once this program is up and running and everybody kind of knows the inner workings of the whole thing, that market's going to get extreme pressure, because why wouldn't you? If you're looking to be a first-time home buyer, you want to get into this program, right? Because it's going to save you a bunch of money. But with that $570,000 or $500,000 outside of Hence and HRM, that's where everybody's going to target. And we know the rules of economics, right? When there's an increase in demand and a drop in supply, what happens? The prices go up, and then we'll be outside of this bracket, and then really, is it benefiting anybody? I think time will tell. I think that it will be interesting times over the next 6, 8, 10 months in the mortgage realm. Mortgage 101, as I mentioned earlier, will go at 11 o'clock tomorrow and on Sunday right here on 95.7 News Radio. And once it airs, you can, of course, catch the podcast anytime on our website, halifax.citynews.ca. Time to stop for an update on the news. On the other side of it, he's sitting in the newsroom right now with a smile on his face. I think it's because there's no big storm coming, at least not yet. Meteorologist Allister Aalders with your weekend forecast after the update. Looking out the window, I see sunshine, but my goodness, was it cold this morning? It's a weather roller coaster, as a weather guy used to tell me all the time here on this radio station. And it's I think it's going to be one of those instances of, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes this weekend. But the good news, I don't want to steal his thunder, but the good news is that I don't think you're going to need your shovel this weekend. Is that the fact, meteorologist Allister Aalders?
That is correct. Vanessa, where's the, you used to have the booing, when I was coming in here, last year, where's the cheering sound effect? I think a lot of us are cheering. Yes, no Sunday to Monday storm. And, there we go. Thank you. All joking aside, the interesting thing is there's going to be 2 storm systems to our south this weekend. One is, developing today and tracking northeast, could clip the Avalon Peninsula with some flurries and snow on Saturday, and then another one taking shape Saturday to Sunday. But the jet stream far enough south, which, is bringing the colder temperatures, right, but pushing that storm track well to the south and keeping those storms offshore. So, I know for the most of us here in Halifax, we got off pretty easy with the one on Groundhog Day, where it did end up moving a bit farther offshore. And, parts of eastern HRM and along the coast here in Metro had quite a bit of snow shoveling to do. But I think it'll be nice to just enjoy a weekend without having to worry about the weather for once.
All right, Allister, we're going to address that. We talked a little bit about it on Monday, and I know that you took some grief over it, and I would imagine your compatriots around the city took some grief about that storm. Weather is a science. Predicting the weather is a science.
Exactly.
But it's not an exact science.
It's not an exact science, even with how accurate it has become.
Right. With all of the tools and technology that you have at your fingertips, there's still, and you say it to your credit, and others say it, that there's variability that are built into these storm tracks.
Exactly.
And that we talked about it last Friday.
Yes.
That the storm hadn't even really formed yet.
Yep.
So tell me what happened and why we should have been, instead of everybody being mad about it, we should have been happy that we didn't get as much as we potentially could have got.
Well, I mean, when we were sitting here this time last week, the model guidance, which, models are not, this is what 100% is going to happen. It's a tool that meteorologists use to say, okay, based on these atmospheric features and conditions, this is how the model thinks the weather is going to evolve with time. And, the closer you are, the more accurate the weather is. The farther out you go,
more data
error gets introduced, and that error gets multiplied down and down the line, so your forecast becomes increasingly less accurate with time. The trouble with storm systems is that it really only takes, a relatively small shift in the track of 100 or 200 kilometers to completely change what you're going to get. And essentially what we had happen, I mean, the storm was, as we mentioned, it was not set to develop until the weekend itself, that it was coming in for Sunday night to Monday, and where that feature formed and how the various components of energy phased together and ended up tracking towards the northeast, ended up happening, not quite to the timing that the models thought, and not quite into the same spot that the models were thinking. So essentially what happened is it put that storm track just a bit farther south and east of Sable Island, track to the northeast. And while, it was quite stormy for Cape Breton, the eastern shore, even into coastal Halifax, we had a very strong band of heavy snow set up for multiple hours right along the coast. There was an incredibly tight gradient where Duncan's Cove had 20 centimeters. Parts of the eastern shore, I had reports of 30 to 40 in the, Sheet Harbor vicinity, Austria Lake. The city itself, 10-ish centimeters. And then out towards, the suburbs and the airport, 5 to 10. And then into the valley, hardly anything.
Right.
So very tight gradient with the storm, and a shift in the track far enough to the south and east that heaviest snow pocket ended up shifting just far enough south and east with it to move that heaviest snow offshore. And it's, it serves as a good reminder. I mean, weather communication, you always try to be very clear and outline, the certainty and uncertainty. And, I think that was outlined pretty well in the lead up, that there was a lot of uncertainty, but unfortunately with just so many information sources and apps saying, just taking raw model data and saying this is what you're going to get for snowfall, there's just so many information sources all coming into one that you kind of jumble it all together and you form a conclusion, and some things, like the uncertainty factor might get forgotten about. And I think that's what happened to some extent with this one. And it doesn't help, I think, too, that we had two Sunday to Monday storms back to back, and it was kind of like, okay, here are we going for number 3, and then are we, on Monday of this week, I had people saying, oh, here we go, number 4 is coming, because on Monday, some of the models were saying, oh, it's going to be another storm for the weekend. And look how that changed, where, the energy in a cold front was expected earlier in the week to meet up with this coastal low that's going to brush into Newfoundland and kind of form into one storm that would, sit and stall over the region this weekend. Well, that's not happening because that energy was not able to meet up in phase in time with that coastal low to form the one center. So it just proves that while weather is, fairly accurate in the 5-day window, there's a high degree of accuracy. In the 7-day window, it's pretty high too, especially with storm systems. The farther out you are, the more uncertainty there is, especially when it comes to winter storms. It's just like with hurricanes. You really have to get into that 3-day window where you're starting to focus on the specifics. And even then, we were talking last Friday, it shifted southeast overnight. When I woke up on Saturday, I was like, what in the world happened? I mean, and at the end of the day, yes, it does reflect on the meteorologists. It also reflects on the weather models, which are, incredibly advanced and, are quite accurate.
But not perfect.
And handled this system terribly. And, it just goes to prove that not all storms are the same. The previous two that we tracked, there were some issues with the one 2 weeks ago. Wasn't too bad to track. The first one, the wet snow event, was a little bit easier. This one was very tricky and tough to track. Falling short of expectations for many, but also meeting them or exceeding them for some where, places on the Eastern Shore and in Cape Breton were digging out from this storm. So, like you said, weather is not 100% accurate or a perfect science. We're just using, the data available to us and your expertise to try to, basically forecast how you think this is going to unfold. And unfortunately, those curveballs do still get thrown at us at the last minute from time to time, and that's what we did see happen with this storm on Groundhog Day.
All right, you said that we're not going to have a Sunday into Monday snowstorm,
and I am confident about that. I don't think it's going to all shift back in our direction for the weekend.
What can we expect weather-wise? Is this cold snap going to continue?
So the temperatures, most of the week it was kind of nice, near and in the city, even a bit above freezing. Unfortunately, we are kind of in a bit of a fluctuating pattern where it was really cold this morning and it's cold out there today. The temperature does moderate a bit for the weekend, closer to seasonal, -1, -2, depending on where you are in HRM, and the nights won't be as cold. So that's welcome news. Not a lot of sunshine this weekend. I do think clouds mostly dominate Saturday, chance of a flurry, perhaps a bit more sun in the mix at times on Sunday, but still a chance of flurries as we're kind of between these storms to our south. We're not in a really strong ridge of high pressure to provide us with clear skies, which at this time of year usually does mean cold. So I guess we'll take the warm up with the trade-off with clouds, although it would be nice to have a bit more sunshine. Then we see another cool down for the start of the week where, we're kind of back into the deep freeze Sunday night and Monday. But then It does look like temperatures once again will start trending back closer to seasonal, and then even possibly above seasonal mid to late next week. So it looks like we do have just a bit of a temperature roller coaster with, cold today, moderating for the weekend, a cold start to the work week, and then another bit of a warming trend, if you will, towards the middle and later stages of next week.
Shubenacadie Sam, Wyerton Willie, Lucy the Lobster. Did I miss any? Fred in Quebec.
Poor Two Rivers Tunnel in Cape Breton always gets forgotten about, but they had to cancel that in Cape Breton. The groundhog there wasn't able to come out. So,
but the other prognosticating animals, because Lucy's a lobster. Yes. It's all said that we're going to experience, even after the government put out a release, said that Sam will not see her shadow. I don't know. Maybe the premier can speak groundhogese. I don't know. That being said, Puxatawny Phil is the outlier. He said we're going to have 6 more weeks of ice fishing. Of winter. Allister, do you agree that the trends, at least? I know we just talked about long-term weather and how difficult it is. But Sam, right?
Groundhog accuracy is not very high. So it's
some
hard.
will say that about meteorologists these days.
That's true. That is true. You could be you're probably saying, well, you're not very accurate either, Allister. But traditionally groundhog, it's hard to put a lot of merit into what they say. Here in Nova Scotia, February is always kind of that, you get that continued blast of winter. Depending on the track, we usually get into some pretty decent storms and shots of colder air. The trend that we've been seeing is that March is a bit of a changeable month where we still get some storms, but we're starting to trend towards that spring season, which we're all looking forward to. And then obviously April, we don't get a lot of snow in April now anymore. From time to time we do get the odd storm, but snow in April is becoming less common, and even in March too. It does look like we'll see this kind of fluctuation in temperature through the middle of the month, and then perhaps some colder shots of air for the end of the month. How exactly that transitions to the storm setup or the storm track is going to be key, because obviously we're still in a very favorable pattern for storms to develop and track in our direction. But look at today, where the storm track is far enough to the south that we're not even getting the snow from them. And some of the indications coming in that perhaps with the warm up mid to late next week, there could be a low that tracks in maybe around Thursday, perhaps with mixing. So, I don't like to show all of my cards because, truly, seasonal forecasting is very difficult, and the expectations of them you say, spring will arrive early, but it's very subjective. Or you say, it's going to be warmer than normal winter, and then you think, there's going to be no cold snaps, and then we get into cold snaps, right? So it's very subjective and hard to, I guess, explain scientifically. And I'm, kind of dancing around this question that you've asked me. I think we'll just have, we'll see winter continue to play out as we typically see every winter into the spring season here.
Spring will arrive when spring arrives.
Exactly.
Thanks, Allister.
Thank you, Dan.
That is Allister Aalders. You can hear his forecast right here on 95.7 News Radio, both in the morning and in the afternoon drives, and, of course, here every Friday on the show. When we come back, oh, boy, it's Super Bowl weekend. Cecil will be insufferable. We're back after the break. A few minutes left in the fabulous Friday edition of the program, and we know that a lot of our eyes are going to be on Italy here over the next few weeks as the Olympic Games get underway. I think the opening ceremony is happening here in just a couple of hours. Canadian athletes already participating in the events that start before the opening ceremonies happen. But there is a big event, a big sporting event that's happening on Sunday, and I know that our sports guru, Cecil, will have his television tuned into that as his beloved New England Patriots take on Seattle and the Seahawks and at the Super Bowl in California. Are you pumped up, Cecil? You got your snacks already?
Oh, yeah, man. I am psyched up. Don't you wish that someday your team could be in the Super Bowl?
Oh, man. Come on, Cecil. Really? That I'm a Maple Leaf fan, Cleveland Brown fan. It's I'm destined to be on the outside looking in.
Once upon a time, I was a Cleveland Browns fan, way back when Jim Brown was with the team.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't go quite back that far, Cecil, but I do remember the fumble and Ernest Biner and all that stuff. All of that being said, I get emails from Seahawk fans that say that the New England Patriots have no chance, that the Seahawk defense is too strong, and that they've schlepped their way into the Super Bowl, beating subpar opponents. I disagree with that. They made it all the way through the playoffs. They beat the number one seed. But that all being said, this I hope at least is a good game, and it's not a blowout on either side.
Well, I personally hope the Patriots blow them out.
It's easier to watch that way, isn't it?
I remember the Patriots, I think it was their second Super Bowl when they played the Rams, and the Rams had the greatest show on turf. Remember that?
Yep.
Kurt Warner and Isaac Bruce and all those guys that were supposedly unstoppable. Patriots beat them.
They did with a no-name quarterback, some guy that was wearing number 12.
Some guy in his second year.
Yep. Right?
But I'm going to tell you this. This is the most overlooked aspect of this game. The Patriots' defense is excellent.
I think so. I think that they're going to. I think they're going to win the day, and I know that the Seahawk fans disagree with me, but I truly believe that.
The Patriots, they beat Houston, one of the best defenses in the league. They go into Denver, and they knock off the Broncos. Of course, it was like a driving snowstorm, but Denver had the best defense in the league at home. I mean, there's no reason the Patriots should be afraid of Seattle at all. And I think the Patriots are looking forward to getting on the field against Sam Darnold again, because the last time they got him in their sights, it was a disaster for Sam. And I know Sam will never forget. Wasn't he with the Jets when that happened? He said he was seeing ghosts.
Yeah, I can hear Todd just screaming at the top of his lungs right now. Anyway, Cecil, your prediction on a score, do you think it's going to be a blowout? Do you think it's going to be tight?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, the Patriots are always in close, low-scoring games. So I'm going to say this is going to be 20-17 New England.
Wow, close.
Yeah, it'll be a good game. I mean, let's give Seattle some credit. They got a good running back in Walker, and, Darnold's had a good year, and Smith and Jigba, that wide receiver, is fabulous.
Yeah, they've got some weapons, that's for sure.
They certainly do, but so has everybody else that New England has played. Mike Vrabel, I know they haven't announced Coach of the Year yet. If he doesn't get it, there's really something wrong, something as bad as the voting that's going on with the Hall of Fame all of a sudden.
Cecil, MVP award handed out to Mr. Stafford as opposed to Drake May. I hear the voting was very close. Your thoughts on that? I thought Stafford had a pretty good year.
He won by a vote.
Yeah.
listen, Stafford had an excellent year. I don't really care about the most valuable player award. To me, it's all about the team anyway. But I think if I'm a New England fan, I look at what this young second-year quarterback has done, and I don't know how you top it, but are you telling me that he's got to go to the Super Bowl again and again and again to even be in consideration for most valuable player, year after year? I don't know.
I think the NFL needs to take a look at that award, because how can you have a discussion over MVP when Myles Garrett set the single-season sack record and wasn't even in the discussion? It's wrong.
Thank you very much. And, when you talk about most valuable player, I don't know how anybody would be more valuable to his team than he was.
Right. It's that and he's a Cleveland Brown, so that doesn't hurt. Very quickly, Cecil, we're almost out of time. Olympics kicking off in earnest tonight or today, this afternoon, with the opening ceremonies, and of course, eyes the hockey world on the men's and the women's sides, and so on and so forth. Your thoughts on Canada's hockey teams?
Well, I think that the United States women are head and shoulders above Canada right now.
They've owned them for the last 2 years.
They have, and they play an excellent brand of hockey. I really enjoy watching them play. And the same thing, I guess, with the Americans and the Canadian men. Like, they're so evenly matched. I mean, can you say that one team should be favored over the other?
Not on the men's side, that's for sure. And I think there's 5 teams that can win the gold medal on the men's side.
Well, I was going to say, and let's not overlook teams like Sweden either.
Sweden, Finland.
Oh, my goodness gracious. I can't wait for the puck to... When's the puck being dropped? Come on.
12th of February.
I can't wait that long.
And the women's team was supposed to have started yesterday. The Finnish women's team has norovirus, so they are sequestered and quarantined. That resumes on Saturday against the Swiss.
Yeah, I'm probably really looking forward to getting out on the ice versus Finland right now, huh?
Yeah. I don't think you're going to go into the corners with somebody who's got norovirus. I'm just saying.
I don't know, pretty hard to play hockey with a mask on.
Right, no doubt. And of course, on the women's side, we've got Blair playing and some Nova Scotia talent behind the bench, and of course the big three on the men's side. And I know you're going to be pulling for them.
Absolutely, I am. I am. And a special shout out to Troy Ryan, by the way.
Right.
Good old Halifax native who's head coach of Team Canada. Can't go much further than that, can you?
You got it. Cecil, I appreciate it, my friend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. I predicted the Patriots are going to win. I don't know if that's a curse or not, but we'll have to see.
Well, if they do win, I'm going to be unbearable next week.
Yeah, I know. All right, Cecil, appreciate it, sir.
See ya.
Have a good one. That's Cecil Wright. He's our sports guru. Super Bowl goals on Sunday. Patriots, Seahawks. I know there's a strong contingent of Seahawk fans that are listening to the show today. I know there's a even stronger contingent of Patriots fans, and I know they'll have their eyes plugged into the Super Bowl as that game goes off. As I mentioned, it's the 12th, I do believe, that the men's hockey tournament kicks off, at least the Canadian component of that. The women's tournament is already underway. Canada will play again on Saturday. We've been watching mixed curling. I don't know what the second game result was. I don't think the Canadians are playing today. They did play earlier today. That's Brent Gallat and Jocelyn Peterman, and they lost to Team USA. That's their first loss in the preliminary rounds in mixed doubles curling. As we'll watch that all weekend. If you're a sports fan, it's like Christmas, right? There's something to watch from now until the end of February. And boy, let's not forget that pitchers and catchers in Major League Baseball will report next week. And we're not that far away from April and the start of the Major League Baseball season. And, of course, the sad news. Maybe I'm misjudging this as sad news, but boy, am I going to miss Buck Martinez on that broadcast. He's been a fixture on Blue Jays broadcasts for many, many years. He's been with the organization off and on since 1981, deciding that now is the time for him to step away from the broadcast booth and hang up the headphones. It's just not going to be the same without the analysis from Buck Martinez for the Blue Jays. Have a fantastic weekend. My enduring thanks to Vanessa Vandenez on the other side of the glass. Awesome work as always all week here on the program. Get out there and enjoy Nova Scotia, folks. I know there's lots of sports to watch on TV, but you need to get outside and enjoy what we have here. We're so lucky to live in this province. Be well and be kind to one another.